Well, I'm an American taxpayer, and at least $3 billion a year of my money goes to Israel. $3 billion goes to Egypt, billions here, billions there, and then there's all the military aid on top of it. And I'm tired of it. My government isn't my government. It's run by the Bilderberg Group, 125 of the owners and CEOs and leaders of the Fortune 100. And we get their minutes, we get their documents here and there. They want tyranny, they want a police state, they want a world government. And Israel is basically a Western outpost to project power into the region. You know, I don't have a fetish for bashing Israel. And I've noticed that people that go after Israel, a lot of them tend to be very vitriolic themselves and make up a lot of stuff and be very vicious. And not be reasonable, and to be part of their own hate cult. See, people are trained to think either you're for this group or you're against this group, or you're either for the Republicans or against the Republicans, or either for the Democrats or against the Democrats. No, I don't want any of it. It's all basically going in the same direction. And I think because in the last 16 years, I was somewhat ignorant about all the details of Israel 16 years ago, and I had more of a pro-Israel stance at that time, just because I was brought up a conservative, brought up, you know, mainline Christian, and you're taught Israel's ganged up on, they're the little guy, you've got to, you know, support them. I mean, that was just not even so much for my parents, though they were never anti-Israel, but just the culture I grew up in Dallas. And you are a product of where you come from. And then over the years, I've been attacked by people who've lied about me and done stalker stuff and made stuff up. I'd say about 99% of it's false, you know, claiming I work for Israel and things like that. And those people, a lot of them I think are government operatives, and it's been proven a lot of them are, like Hal Turner and others, but others are just mentally ill. And they're so mentally ill that when I say that, they put out articles saying Alex Jones says, if you don't worship Israel, you're mentally ill. No, I said, if you say, I work for Israel, that you are mentally ill. They go, see, he said you're mentally ill if you don't worship Israel. That's not what I said. So the system almost tries to force you into a position. You either strap on a Nazi armband, wear a Palestinian headdress, or you join Israel. And see, I don't want to join Israel. And I don't want to join the groups that literally say if you fall on a banana peel that Israel did it. I mean, there are folks out there saying that Israel blew up Fukushima. Or when there's an earthquake, Israel did it. I mean, you know, my issue is governments are corrupt. China's corrupt. The U.S. government, the German government, the Russian government. That's the nature. That's history. That's what the founders taught. It's what philosophy shows. It's what Plato wrote about. The Greeks were corrupt. So were their enemies, the Persians. I'm not for the Persians. I'm not for the Greeks. I understand human nature. And so people want to make things so simplistic. But looking at Israel, studying what Israel does, because Israel's been given so much unconditional support, it's like a teenager who you let do whatever they want. Here, have the house, have the car, have all the money, do whatever you want. I mean, those kids generally are going to go to hell in a handbasket. So looking at Israel from that perspective, Israel has been given such a long leash that Israel does whatever it wants, whenever it wants, and more, I get angry at Israel. Because I want to be left alone. I want to be an American. I want my sovereignty. And I see the Israeli lobby in this country always at the forefront of trying to push open borders and globalism. Always at the forefront of the ADL and others, demonizing anybody that doesn't want the banks to take over, called banker bailout. I see the Israeli lobby. I mean, they have meetings here in Austin every month, the ADL pushing to restrict the Second Amendment. And the ADL admittedly is basically Israeli intelligence. Look, I don't like Russian spies in America. I don't like British spies in America. I don't like Israeli spies in America. But let me tell you, the Russians and the British and others can't get away with stuff like this. My grandfathers, both of them, signed up for World War II. My dad's dad flew B-17s over Europe and barely survived. Never even talked about it until after he was dead, and we got it all out of his trunk, all the medals and the rest of it. And then this guilt for Nazi Germany has somehow been placed on America, where if you don't do whatever Israel says or does, you committed the Holocaust. If you're for the Second Amendment or you want to abolish the Federal Reserve, you hate Jews. Well, and it's always injected in there. I just want my freedom. I just want my Second Amendment. And you look at the Israeli lobby, Chucky Schumer and Rahm Emanuel, whose daddy was, Irgun, and he's part of the Israeli Defense Forces. Here in America, coming and saying they want to take my guns away and have a no-gun buy list if they put me on a list, that Israel is advising TSA on how to set up domestic checkpoints and police departments. It's all over the news. I mean, get out of my life. Get off my back. Stop pushing. Stop doing what you're doing. And then it's shameful to see this footage, and we'll play some of it for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers in the background while I'm talking about it, of hundreds of peaceful protesters with their Syrian flags on what was Syria being mowed down, being shot. And they're being killed. And it's happening in front of everyone. And as I said on PrisonPlanet.tv in the background, we'll roll some of that video, not the audio. But I don't like the communist Chinese leadership. And I remember back under Clinton, if you criticize the communist Chinese and their spies in our government and the missile secrets, CNN would say people don't like what China's doing because they're anti-Asian. Oh, you don't like Obama's health care. You're anti-health care. Or you're anti-black. What does that have to do with it? It's dishonest. It's a label. I don't like watching the Mexican government a few years ago shoot peaceful protesters, and I got angry about it. Not because I hate Mexicans, because I hate their government. And it's the same thing with Israel. I don't have some beef with Jewish people. I know Jewish people are diverse. I don't like the Nazis and people, that say Jews are inherently evil. Or groups that say, black groups that say whites are inherently evil. But at the same time then, by setting Israel up as infallible and can do no wrong, we allow Israel to engage in espionage inside the United States, to manipulate our politics, and to now get to the point of peaceful protesters coming across and not water canning them, not arresting them, but shooting them, killing upwards of 63 and injuring hundreds. And even as they left, Israel continued to shoot them, it's being reported. I mean, this is Tiananmen Square. This is, Israel said they didn't shoot people when they came down on board the flotilla. But the evidence showed they did. Well, what do you think's going on right here? I mean, this is in plain, broad daylight. People say, well, it's a Syrian stunt. Whatever, it used to be Syrian land. Those people have a lot of courage to march up unarmed and then to be shot. I want the Syrians to live in peace. I want the Israelis to live in peace. But it's a political football of tribal warfare that is a big money sink that is never going to go away. The Israelis aren't going to go anywhere. They got 400 nukes. The Arabs aren't going to go anywhere. And this whole thing is going like a freight train towards World War III, and I don't want World War III. Also, the West is involved in the Arab Spring. Overthrowing. Think about this. Overthrowing a 31-year dictator who tortured people for Israel and the U.S., who did anything he was told, Hosni Mubarak, and then they say, oh my gosh, they shot at some protesters, step down Mubarak, you shot and killed 2 protesters. That was the first event. 2 people. Israel shoots and kills 63, and we're told, this is wonderful, the protesters asked for it. State Department says, protesters, show restraint. Headlines, violence on the border, not massacre. Oh, there's violence. It's the Syrians' fault. I can't live lies. I can't see the Israeli lobby teamed up with the British, European lobby in the U.S. pushing for this war in Libya that they said wasn't a war and isn't a ground war and that would last 2 days, not 3 months. Now they're saying it's going to go into next year. Lies, lies, lies. I can't watch Israel sit there and mow down hundreds of people, killing 63 of them in cold blood, and then see Hosni Mubarak, their own minion who they betrayed. That's what I mean. There's no honor here, even with their own dictators. And then they tell you, oh, we got to go into Libya because he may have shot some protesters, and it turns out that's not even true. And he had rape gangs with Viagra. That wasn't true. He went to Venezuela. That wasn't true. It's just total 1984, up is down, down is up, black is white, ministry of truth. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm going to come back, finish up with this, get into Adam Gadon, the anti-gun lobby, using Al-Qaeda to go after our guns. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds?